Fusion Mobile, quality e-learning experience on the go.
Welcome to Fusion Mobile learning platform. I'm Olokobi Pelumi by name, the commerce tutor. So in this class, we'll be looking at the topic business documents. So we'll be looking at the meaning of business documents, types of business documents, trade terms and abbreviations. We'll also be looking at terms of quoting price in international trades, how price quoted in international trade, and also we'll be looking at terms of sale. Terms of sale. And the first thing we have is the meaning of business documents. Okay, business document. Generally, business documents are what? Are documents that are used to facilitate art of buying and selling. They generally use your what to facilitate the art of buying and selling. So what happens whenever a transaction occurs in business? What happens? Such transaction have to what? Have to be what? Be evidence in what? In writing. They have to be evidence in writing. So they have to be written down. So those documents in which business transactions are recorded to serve as an evidence of transaction are referred to as business document. So we have different types of business documents. We have trade journals, we have letter of inquiry, we have catalog and price list, we have quotation, we have order, we have invoice, we have delivery notes, we have advice notes, we have consignment, we also have credit notes, debit notes, we have statement of accounts, we have pro forma, invoice, and also we have receipt. Okay, the first thing we have here is the trade journal. We have the trade journals. Generally, the trade journal is used. They are usually what? Let me put it in this form. They are actually publications. They are actually publications which actually what provide information about certain goods and services, about some availability of goods. So they usually give description of the goods available and all necessary information about the goods. So they are usually publication or in form of press, you understand, in form of magazine and newspapers. So they gives necessary information about the what about the particular goods by giving description of the goods. So which can actually what arouse some interest, some of the interest of the consumers. So arouse the interest of the consumer. So the next thing we have on the list is to look at the letter of inquiry. Letter of inquiry. This type of document is usually sent from the buyer to the seller. Sent by the buyer. Sent by the buyer to the seller. Actually, was asking for certain information about a particular goods or about different categories of goods. So the buyer will send letter of inquiry to the seller, asking for information about asking information about a particular goods. That is maybe the price, the current price of the goods, the discount and terms of trade that will be available to them. You understand, and also how the means of transportation that can easily be used to actually derive to actually have the goods and date of delivery if the goods have to be bought from such a seller. So what happens is what letter of inquiry would consist of. So the buyer will send letter of inquiry to the seller, actually requesting for the goods, or actually requesting for information about the particular goods, like the details about the goods and everything will be made available by the buyer to the seller. And next thing we have is the catalog or price list. Wow, catalog. Let's talk about the catalog first. Generally, the catalog actually consists of goods. The catalog is a list of goods that are available in a particular store or in a particular or shop, a particular form of business. So the catalog shows list of availability of goods. It gives the list of availability of goods that are available to the consumer. So the consumer will be able to know, okay, this is the nature of goods available. Catalog is usually available in the supermarket. It's available in the restaurants, for you to know the kind of goods, you understand, the type of services that are available by the restaurant, the nature of food that are available and everything. So the catalog are used there. We also have the price list. The price is actually the document that shows the list of prices of goods. So it shows the list of It shows the list of price of all goods that are available by the manufacturer. The next thing we have now is the quotation. The quotation. We have the quotation. The quotation is a document that is sent by the seller to the buyer to actually answer the request for a particular order. So it's usually it's a statement that actually sent by the seller to the buyer or by the supplier to the buyer to actually answer a request or to give information which for a particular order. They give information about the particular order. So the document usually shows the current price and terms of trade. So whenever a buyer send an order to the seller, so the seller or the supplier actually want to reply such an order, what happened? The seller or the supplier will also have to write a quotation actually answering such an information, So it is actually a report about a particular order, or it's actually asking a particular order. So it's a document sent by the supplier to the buyer for a particular order, which is the current price and terms of trade. So when talking about the uses of quotation, we usually use to answer a particular order. So for the supplier uses to answer a particular order made by the buyer, and also the quotation shows the current price of the goods. It shows all the current price of the goods that is being requested by the buyer, and also it also shows the terms of trade. It shows the different types of trade. So that is one of the use. So these are the uses of of quotation. Next thing we have is order. So quotation is actually to actually answer a request of an order. So let's look at the meaning of the order. Order is just like a document. It's a document exactly. So it's a document sent by the buyer to the seller or to the supplier requesting for certain information about the goods, and also ensure that the goods are available. So a request for information about the particular goods, is requesting for the price of the goods, the quantity that will be available to them, and also the terms of trade. In terms of trade, like this kind that will be available, and also the terms and conditions of trade. So that's the meaning of order. Actually, the meaning of order. So that meaning of order. So it's usually sent by the buyer to the seller to requesting for some goods. You understand? Requesting for some goods so that will be needed by such a buyer. Also requesting for information about the goods. So once the buyer sends the letter of inquiry, what happens? And you want to purchase the goods, what will happen? It's going to send order. So it actually purchase the goods. So one of the uses of the order is that it's used to make requests for the goods that is needed by the buyer. The buyer uses to make requests of goods needed by it, and also it's used to purchase goods. And also it can be used to ask for information. So before the buyer can actually purchase the goods. Also, the next thing we have is invoice. We have invoice. It's also one of the documents used. Also, in businesses we have a lot of documents used. So you should be able to use all of these documents. We have invoice. We have delivery notes. We also have advice notes. So invoice generally is used. It's used whenever there is transfer of goods from the supplier to the buyer to show all of the details, like the price of the goods, discount given, terms of trade, and conditions of trade. So usually waiting whenever the goods are sold on credit to the buyer. So the document will be going to show the price of the goods that is being sold on credit. It's going to show the discount given. It's going to show the terms of trade and all of the required information of the goods that are to be sold on credit to the buyer. So one of the usefulness of the invoice is that it provides information and gives details of the goods sold on credit to the buyer. It provides all necessary information about the goods being sold on credit to the buyer, and also it helps to quote all of the price of the goods, and also it shows the amount owned by the buyer to the supplier. So that is one of the usefulness of the invoice. Now the next thing we have is the delivery note. The delivery note is a document that usually accomplishes the delivery of goods. It accomplishes the delivery of goods. So what happens whenever the goods is to be delivered to the buyer? What will happen? The delivery note will be attached to show the delivery of the goods. What happens? And the delivery note will show all of the description of the goods that will be delivered to the buyer. So it's going to show the quantity of goods that are sent, you understand, the price of the goods sent, the goods that are lost in transit also. So there will be 2 copies of the delivery notes. One will be with the supplier, and one will be with the person that is to deliver the goods, and also one will be with the buyer. So the buyer, once the goods gets to the warehouse of the buyer is going to check the goods and also complete the delivery notes. Going to complete the delivery notes. You know the number of goods was delivered to him, and also all necessary information about the goods being delivered. So the next one we have is the advised note. We have the advised note. Advised note is a document. This document is usually sent by the seller to the buyer. Is directly sent by the seller to the buyer to give all to advise the buyer on the type of goods you can request for, and all necessary information about the goods. So actually the seller will actually send the document which is the advice to the buyer to tell him the nature of the goods he's going to buy and how he's going to deal with such goods. So the next one we have is the consignment note. This is a document usually sent by a consignor, that is by the consignor to the carrier agent. It's given to the carrier agent to show the goods to be consigned to the consignee. So whenever the goods are to be consigned to the consignee through a carrier, there will be attachment of the consignment note to show all of the description and details of the goods to be sent to the consignee. So that's one of the functions of the delivery note. So we have the credit note, we have the debit note, and the credit note is a document sent by the supplier to the buyer whenever the buyer has been overcharged. So it is to reduce the indebtedness of the buyer. So it is sent to have a reduction in the amount of reduction in the amount of money owned by the buyer. So once there is a reduction in the amount of the money owned by the buyer, what happens? Credit note will be sent from the seller to the buyer. By the buyer to the seller to have a reduction in the price of in the amount of the money owned by the buyer. So when talking about the credit note, it is used to correct an overcharged in the invoice. Whenever there is an overcharged on the amount owned by the buyer, what happens? Credit note will be issued to reduce the indebtedness of the buyer. So let's talk about the uses of the credit note. It's used to correct an overcharge in the invoice. Once there is an overcharge in the invoice, we use the credit note to correct such an overcharge. And also, the credit note also is used in having a reduction to reduce the indebtedness of the buyer. So we have a lot of uses of credit note. You can check that. We have the debit note also, with the opposite of the credit note. This is used to correct an overcharge. This is used to correct an undercharge rather than an error. This is used to correct an overcharge in the invoice. That means to increase the indebtedness of the buyer. So whenever the buyer has been undercharged in the invoice, what will happen? The buyer will be issued a debit note. There will be issued a debit note. That is to increase their indebtedness in the picture. So we have the statement of account. This document actually shows all of the details of transaction between the seller and the buyer. So it's sent by the seller to the buyer to show all of the transaction between the period. That is total amount of goods sold to the buyer, and total amount of receipts is total amount of payment made by the buyer, and also the balance due. The statement also shows the balance due to the buyer. So when talking about they also the balance due by the buyer. So when talking about the statement of account, it shows debit and credit to the account of the debtors. So any form of payment made by the debtor will be credited, and any form of goods sold and credit to the creditor will also be to the buyer will also be debited. So to the debtor will also be debited. So when talking about statement of account, it shows credit and debit to the account and shows the balance due by the buyer. So the balance due by the buyer will be shown in the statement of account. So it's help the buyer should have details of the amount due by him. So the buyer will be able to know, okay, this is the amount due by him, this is the amount I have to be paid. I have to pay to the seller. So the buyer will know the amount to be paid to the seller. So that's one of the usefulness of statement of account. Now the proforma invoice. This document is usually issued if if the seller is not to sell his goods on credit. So whenever the seller doesn't want to sell his goods on credit, proforma invoice will be sent by the seller to the buyer, informing the buyer that okay, these goods are not to be sold on credit, and also showing the price of the goods, necessary details of the goods, and want to be sent by the buyer. So it's usually sent before the goods are sold to the buyer. The document are sent before the goods are sold to the buyer, and it's to prevent that the goods are not being sold on credit. Now, the next document we have is receipt. Well, interesting one, receipt. So receipt is usually what shows the evidence of payment. It's document used to show the evidence of payment. It's document used to show that that the buyer has paid for the goods sold to the buyer. So receipt shows evidence of payment. It's used to show the evidence of payment that payment has been made by the buyer to the seller. That's what the receipt is used for. It's also one of the documents used in business to show that payment has been made by the buyer to the seller. And the uses of receipt. Receipt is used for, it shows evidence of payment. It shows that a payment has been made by the buyer to the seller, and also it shows the person in which the payment is made to. Maybe it's to the cashier or any other person in the organization, and also shows the date of payment. It shows the date of payment. So that is the uses of receipt. So we are able to look at different types of business documents. The next thing we are going to look at is trade terms and abbreviations. So now we have the trade terms and abbreviations. So we have different terms used in buying and selling, and also different type of abbreviations. So we have the term discounts, we have carriage forward, we have carriage paid, we have S warehouse, we have S works, we have local, we have E and OE. So errors and omission accepted. So the first thing we have now is the discount. We have the discount. The first thing we have is the discount. So discount is simply the reduction in the price, in the selling price of goods and services. Reduction in the price of goods and services is referred to as discount. So, and the reason why for granting the reduction in the price of goods and services is to encourage bulk purchase and prompt payments, to encourage bulk purchase and prompt payments. So we have different types of discounts. We have the cash discounts, we have the trade discounts, two major types, and we have some other type again. We have the seasonal discount. So the first discount we have is the cash discount. This discount is usually given to the debtor in order to encourage prompt payment of debt. It is given to encourage prompt payment of debt. So it's given to the debtors of the firm. So the firm will also have a reduction. Ensure that there is of some discount. There's an amount of the debt of the debtors. That should ensure that the debtor is able to pay for the prompt payment, to ensure that prompt payment is paid of the debt, or prompt payment of the debt is made. So whenever the firm grants cash discounts to the debtors, the cash discount is to encourage prompt payment of goods, to encourage prompt payment of goods. So now the next one we have trade discount. Trade discount actually is the allowance of the catalog price. You know what we mean by catalog price, or price list, and the price in the invoice. So that's what we refer to as the catalog price. So it is given to encourage bulk purchase. So discount is given to encourage bulk purchase. So there will be the reduction in the original price of the goods or catalog price of the goods. So, and that discount is usually given to encourage prompt payment of to encourage bulk purchase. That is, the consumer to be able to buy large goods and large goods, or to be able to buy in larger quantities. To be able to buy in larger quantities. Now we also have trade this seasonal discount. Wow, this discount is usually given by a firm in which its goods is off season. So any goods which are off season, discount will be given also to encourage large purchase of the goods last purchase of the goods. So usually given for those goods which are usually what off season, because if such goods are off season, what happen? Their purchase will not be much. People will not be able to buy such goods. What happen? Discount will offer if there is large purchase of such goods, or if buyer can buy in large quantity of such goods which are off season. What will happen? There will be what discount. So such discount as offer within that period is called what seasonal discount. So the next thing we have now is to look at the trade terms and abbreviation. We have we'll be able to look at the discount, that is the carriage discount, trade discount, and seasonal discount. So the next thing we'll be looking at is the carriage forward. So the carriage forward. So this is a price quotation in which the buyer of the goods is responsible for the payment of what? For the payment of carriage charges. So he will be the one responsible for the payment, all the payment of carriage charges and transportation of the goods. So what will happen? This form of price quotation means what happens is that in the invoice, the cost of transportation and carriage charges is not included in the invoice, has not been included in the invoice. So it will be the responsibility of the buyer to be responsible for such payment. So once the goods are bought from the seller, what happens? The cost of transporting the goods to the warehouse of the world, or to the buyer, let me put it that way, to the buyer will be beared by the buyer, So the buyer will be the responsible will be the one responsible for the payment of what? Carriage and what? Transporting the goods. The next thing we have is the carriage paid. So we talk about the carriage forward. So the next thing is the carriage paid. So in this type of what price quotation for goods, what will happen? The seller will be the one responsible for the payment of what? Carriage and what? And transporting and cost of transporting the goods to the buyer. So what happened? The cost of transporting the goods and cost of carriage will be paid by the seller. So it means the cost of transportation and that of carriage is bear by the seller. So it means the cost of what? Carriage and the cost of what? The cost of transportation will be included in the invoice, has been included in the invoice. So what will happen? The cost of transportation and cost of carriage will be borne or will be beared by the seller. So that is the carriage paid. The next thing we have the X warehouse. Wow, this is also one of the ways in which price is being quoted. So it's one of the price quotation for goods in which the cost of deliveries, let me put it that way, or the cost of transportation will be actually be borne by the seller of the goods, by the buyer of the goods rather, by the buyer of the goods. So what happened? The cost of transporting the goods from the warehouse of the seller will be borne or will be bear by the by the buyer of the goods, What happened? So it means once the goods are taken from the warehouse of the seller, the person that will be responsible for the payment of the delivery of the goods will actually be the buyer. So it excludes all form of delivery charges from the warehouse of the seller to the warehouse of the buyer. So the person that will be responsible for the delivery charges from the warehouse to the warehouse of the buyer will be the buyer itself. So that's what we call the X warehouse. It excludes all form of carriage charges from the warehouse of the seller to the warehouse of the buyer, in which the buyer will be the one responsible for such delivery charges. Now the next thing we have is the X works. This also was one form of price quotation in which excludes all form of carriage charges or delivery charges. It excludes all form of delivery charges except for charges of loading the goods on the road or uploading the goods in the vehicles which should be borne by the seller. It means any form of delivery charges apart from those that will be used in transporting the goods on the road, or the one that will be used in loading the goods to the vehicle which will be borne by the seller. Any other form of delivery charges will be borne by the seller. So it means that the seller will be borne by the buyer. So any form of delivery charges apart from the cost or charges used in loading the goods to the bus or to put the goods on the road, which will be borne by the seller, and any other delivery charges apart from those delivery charges we mentioned will be what? Will be the responsibility of the buyer. So the buyer will be the one responsible for delivery, all other delivery charges, apart from the one used or the one incurred on loading the goods to the what, to the the one used in loading the goods to the what, to the vehicle, or the one using what, loading the goods or pushing to the goods on the road. So any form of delivery charges, the buyer will be the one responsible for what, for delivery charges. So that's what we call S work. We actually refer to it as S work. It's one of the form of what, of quoting price. It's one of the forms of what, quoting prices, which actually exclude all any form of delivery charges, any form of delivery charges, except those delivery charges that will be used in loading the goods to the what, to the vehicle, or the one that will be used in what, in loading goods or putting the goods on the road, which should be, that is, the buyer will be the one to bear such one, or be the one to pay for this any form of delivery charges or subsequent charges apart from those charges will then be bear by the what, by the buyer. Then bear by the buyer. So this form of what, delivery price quotation includes some what is bear by the what, by both by the buyer and the seller. But the seller will actually bear the what, the charges in putting the goods into the vehicle, while any other was delivery charges will then be bear by the what, by the buyer. So that's what we refer to as X works. Now we can move to local. This is one of the ways in which price is being quoted in foreign trade. So it's one of the what, price quotation in foreign trade, that is in international trade, whereby price is being quoted for goods in the warehouse of the exporter. So we use it in what, in quoting price of goods in the warehouse of the exporter. So any importer who wish to buy the goods, what will happen will be what, any importer wish to buy the goods that will be priced at local will be the one to be responsible for the cost of transportation, you understand, the cost of delivering the goods right from the warehouse of the exporter to the warehouse of the importer. So the price quotation it says that what happened once the price is to be quoted with local, what will happen was the exporter will be the one responsible for the cost of the goods, responsible for the what, cost of deliveries and what, carriage charges right from the what, warehouse of the what, of the exporter to the warehouse of the importer. So that is what the word local is saying. It's also one of the form of what, quoting price, but we use it actually especially in what, in international trade. Now the next thing we have is E and OE. This is known as errors and omission. Error and omission accepted. So this actually means what this the supplier has the right to correct any form of errors and omission made in the invoice. So it means if later the supplier actually discovered what, some form of error in the what, in the invoice, so he's having the right to make such correction and what, such correction of such omission or such errors in the subsequent period or in the future. So that's what the error and omission etc. is saying. So it's usually written in the invoice, so to enable the buyer to know that, okay, let's say if there is any discovery of errors or omission in the invoice, that means, so what happened, you can easily correct it, or the supplier can easily correct it when such errors and omission has been detected. So this is what we refer to as what, E and OE. So it's called errors and omission accepted. So we are able to look at trade terms, we are able to look at discount, we are able to look at discount, which is served as the quotation in selling price. We are in price of goods, quotation in price of goods. We are able to look at the typical discount, trade discount, seasonal discount. We are able to look at carriage forward. Carriage forward, that is the form of what, price quotation in which what, the cost of carriages and transportation has been transferred to the buyer. So the buyer will be the one to be responsible for the payment of such carriages and cost of transportation. The next one we are able to look at carriage paid, whereby the seller will be the one to be responsible for the payment of carriage and cost of transportation. So we are able to look at what as warehouse. So this form of price quotation which excludes any form of delivery charges, So it's any form of delivery charges. So what happened? The buyer will be the one responsible for all form of delivery charges, and cost of transportation or cost of transporting the goods from the warehouse of the seller. Now we will be able to look at X work also, which actually is one of the form of what, price quotation, which excludes any form of which excludes carriage all delivery charges apart from or except the cost of loading the goods to the vehicle or putting the goods on the road. That is which except that which will actually be borne by the seller. And we will be able to look at local, the one used in the what price quotation used in the foreign trade. We'll be able to look at what errors and omission accepted. Now we are going to look at the terms of quoting price in international trade or foreign trade. So we have different terms of quoting price in international trade. So we have the cost, insurance and freight. We have the free on board. We have the free alongside ship. We have free on rail. We have costs and freight, which is CF. We have cost and freight. Let me put it. So we also have FRACO. We have free on key. We have free on key. So the first one we have is cost, insurance and freight. CIF. This form of price quotation means the price quoted actually includes the form of what the cost of transporting the goods, the cost of the freight, and also the cost of insurance. That is the cost of insuring the goods on the ship. So once the goods are to be transported from the exporter to the importer, what will happen? The price quoted will include the cost of the goods, the cost of insurance, the cost of insuring the goods on the ship, and also the cost of freight, the payment of freight. So any form of subsequent charges will actually be will actually be beared. So bear by the importer. So the importer will be the one to bear any form of subsequent charges apart from the cost, the insurance and freight of the goods. So any form of subsequent charges, any form of delivery charges to the warehouse of the buyer will be the one to be responsible for such payment. So that is what the cost, insurance and freight is all about. So it means the price quoted includes the cost of the goods, the insurance and also the freight. Because of freight, that is the cost of transporting the goods actually from the exporter warehouse, from the exporter country to the importer country. So any form of subsequent charges will actually be beared by the buyer, that is importer. So it is the responsibility of the importer to bear any form of charges apart from the cost of the goods, the insurance, the cost of insuring the goods, which is the insurance, and also the freight. The next thing we have is the free on board. Free on board, FOB, free on board. This means the price quoted actually includes what? All costs that will be incurred in loading the goods on the board. So any form of cost that will be incurred while loading the goods on the board will actually be borne by the exporter. So the exporter will be the one responsible for all costs incurred in loading the goods on the board. So while the subsequent charges apart from the board, what will happen will be the responsibility of the importer. Will be the responsibility of the importer. So what will happen? The cost of loading the goods on the board will be the responsibility of the exporter. The next thing we have is free alongside ship. So the cost incurred or the cost actually borne during the process of loading the goods into the ship will actually be borne by the exporter. That means the price quoted will include all costs that will be incurred in loading the goods into the ship or along the ship. So any form of cost will then be the responsibility of the importer. So it will be the responsibility of the importer. So that means all costs that will be incurred until the goods get to the side of the ship. Maybe the cost of insurance that will be incurred. You understand? The cost of the goods itself, and any form of cost that will actually be incurred along the ship will be the responsibility of the exporter. That means such price will be included in the price to be quoted, while any form of price will be the responsibility of the importer or the buyer. So the next thing we have is the free on rail. So it means the price quoted will include all the costs, including the cost of the goods to be incurred until the goods get to the rail. So when the price is quoted on free on the rail, what will happen? The importer will know that, okay, all of the costs that will be incurred in moving the goods to the rail, including cost of your delivery charge, including cost of delivery that will be incurred in moving the goods up to the rail, will be quoted in the price. So it will be the responsibility of the exporter. So any form of subsequent charges will then be transferred, or will then be the responsibility of the importer, that is the buyer. The next thing we have now is cost and price. So it means the price quoted only include the cost of the goods and that of what? Price. Any form of what charges like insurance will then be the responsibility of the importer. So next thing we have now is FRACO. Wow, in FRACO. So this means the price quoted include all the form of what costs that will be incurred until the goods gets to the importer warehouse. So it includes the cost of the goods, includes the insurance, the cost of freight, and any other costs that will be incurred until the goods get to the warehouse of the importer. It means the importer will not be the one responsible for any form of delivery charge, any form of goods charge that will be incurred, any form of cost that will be incurred until the goods get to the warehouse. So it means all of the charges will have been included in the price quoted or in the all the goods. So that's what we refer to as FRACO. So that means the price quoted would have included the cost of what? The goods, the cost of the cost of charges rather, or price, the cost of delivery, the cost of insurance would have been included in the price quoted. So that means any form of payment will not be to the buyer or the importer will be responsible again for any form of delivery charge, any form of cost of charge, any form of cost again after paying the quoted price. So what will be the buyer be expecting for the goods to get to his warehouse. So it means all of the costs that will be included will have been included, or we are also will have be in the price quoted. Will have been in the price that is quoted to the importer. So the next thing we have is free on key. The free on key. So that means any form of price, any form of cost that will be incurred, or the price quoted will include, or will have been any form of cost that will be incurred while moving the goods onto the key will be included in the price quoted. So it means the price quoted includes all costs that will be incurred until the goods get to the key of the ship. So once the goods are gotten to the key, what happens? The importer will be the one to be responsible for any form of subsequent charges. So these are the price quoting that are actually used in international trade. We use all this in quoting price in international. That is the cost, insurance, and price, which is CIF. We use the free on board. We use the free alongside ship. We use free on rail. We use cost and price. We use FRACO. We also use the word free on key. Now the next thing is terms of sale. Generally, we have two types of sales. Terms of sale, we have two types of sales. We have cash sales, and we have credit sales. So cash sales occur when the goods are actually sold for cash, so for immediate payment. So there are different types of cash sales. We have the prompt cash. You understand? We have the next one. We have spot cash. We have COD, that is cash on delivery. We have the cash on delivery. So, and the next one we have the credit sales. The credit sales has been extensively discussed in the form of credits. We talk about credit sales. So when value is being transferred from the seller to the buyer without any form of immediate payment. So possession will be transferred without making immediate payment by the buyer. So cash sale, actually we have the prompt cash. When talking about the prompt cash, it means when the goods are sold to the buyer, so the buyer is expected to pay for such goods within a short period of time. So to make sure that the goods are paid within a short period of time. So the next one we have is the sports cash. The sports cash actually means whenever the goods are sold to to the buyer paid immediately for such goods sold. The buyer paid immediately for such goods sold. So the next one we have is the cash on delivery. Cash on delivery. So this is actually used on what? In mail. So in mail order business, whenever the goods are delivered to the world to the buyer is expected to pay immediately for such goods. So he pay immediately for the such goods. So whenever the goods are delivered to the to the warehouse of the buyer, so the buyer is expected to pay for immediately for the goods. Cash on delivery. Cash on delivery. These are the form of what cash sale we have. So we have the prompt cash, the spot cash, and cash on delivery. Cash on delivery. So we are able to talk about the credit sales, which involve us. This involves selling goods immediately to the buyer without immediate payments. So whenever goods are being sold to the buyer without immediate payments, we refer to as what? Credit sales. So we refer to as what? Credit sales. So the next thing we'll be looking at is, okay, we have another form of what? Cash sales. We have another form of what? Cash sales, which is CWO, which is cash with order. So cash with order is also used as form of cash sales. Cash with order. So it means cash will be paid when the what? Okay, it's not this order. So cash with order. So this occurs whenever the what? The goods are sold to the buyer. So what happens? The buyer is expected to what? To pay for the cash when order is placed by the seller. Immediately order is placed by the seller. What will happen? The buyer is expected to pay for cash, pay for the goods bought. So these are examples of the cash form of cash sales we have. So we have the prompt cash, we have the spot cash, cash on delivery, cash with order. So, and also we are able to talk about the credit sales. So this has been an interesting class. We are able to talk about the meaning of business documents. We are able to look at different types of business documents. We look at the trade terms and abbreviations, where we talk about carriage forward, carriage paid. We are able to talk about the listing, discount, look at different discounts, and look at the meaning of discount. Also, we are able to look at the terms of quoting prices in international trade or foreign trade. Also, we are able to look at times of sales, which is cash sales and credit sales. So, whereby we have the prompt cash, we have the spot cash, also have the cash on delivery, and cash with order. So, which means the buyer is expected to pay for the goods bought immediately. The seller actually places an order for such cash payment. So, we also have the credit sales, when goods are being sold on credit to the buyer without immediate payments, when possession are transferred, or when value are being transferred directly from the seller to the buyer without immediate transfer of cash, or any other value. So that's what we refer to as credit sale. And we have a form of credit sale like loan and overdraft. We have treated that in the topic. So we also have hire purchase, we have mortgage. We have a lot of them. We have deferred payment, a lot of different forms of credit sales. So if you have any confusion as regards to this topic, you can just replay the video for better understanding. And also some questions will be displayed on your screen. Do well to attempt such questions. Thank you.